Now I'm taking the next illustration. This illustration says pass entries in the books of Deepak of Gujarat for the following transaction. So February 2nd, purchase goods from Anupriya of Gujarat for rupees 2,50,000, and as Deepak is in Gujarat and Anupriya is also in Gujarat, so this is a intra-state transaction, that is within the state. So CGST and SGST will be charged. It's a credit transaction, no cash is involved. So number of accounts are involved is purchase account is involved, Anupriya account is involved, and SGST and CGST is involved. So purchase is an expenses, it is increasing in the business, so it should be debited. So I'm going to purchase account will be debited with 2,50,000 because it is a expenses. Increase in expenses should be debited. Input CGST and our input SGST is an asset for the business and it is increasing, so it should be debited here. This is I think they are 9%, right? They are 9% of the purchase price, that is 2,50,000. If you calculate 9%, that will be 22,500 each. So Anupriya is a supplier, and Deepak hasn't paid to the Anupriya. It is a credit transaction, so Anupriya is a liability for the business. Increase in liability should be credited. So Anupriya as a creditor, as a liability, will be credited with 2,95,000, being goods purchased on credit within the estate. Now next transaction is on February 5, purchase goods from Rana Rathor of Rajasthan for rupees 3 lakh. Now if you analyze this transaction, you got to know that Rana Rathor is residing in Rajasthan, that is different from the Gujarat. So it is a interstate trade and IGST will be charged. And in the question itself, it is mentioned IGST at 12% is going to be charged. So this is also a credit purchase account is involved, Rana Rathor is involved, and at the same time input IGST is involved. So I'm directly coming to the journal entry. Purchase as an expense, it is increasing in the business, so it should be debited. Input IGST is an asset for the business and it is increasing right now, it should be debited. And Rana Rathor, it's a he is a creditor because Deepak hasn't paid to him right now. It's a credit transaction. So Rana Rathor is a creditor. It's a liability for the business. Increase in liability should be credited. So Rana Rathor was credited here with the amount of purchase price and IGST, that is 12% of the 3 lakh. So being goods purchased on credit outside the estate. Now next transaction is February 10, sold goods to Gurdeep Sidhu of Gujarat for rupees 2 lakh. So again this transaction within the estate, and it's a credit sales because Gurdeep is not making any payment. So CGST and SGST is charged 9, but 4 accounts are involved. Sales account is involved. Gurdeep Sidhu is involved, and output CGST and output SGST is involved. Sales is an income. It is increasing in the business, so it should be credited. That is 2 lakh. Output CGST and output SGST, it's a liability for the business. Increase in liability should be credited, that is 18,000 each. Total amount 2,36,000. Gurdeep Sidhu, he is a debtor. Debtors are asset for the business and it is increasing in the business right now. So Gurdeep Sidhu will be debited with 2,36,000. Being goods sold on credit within the estate. Now next one is February 12, paid railway freight rupees 15,000. Now in this transaction also not mentioned whether it was interstate or intra-state, outside the state or within the state. And we have discussed in note that if nothing is mentioned, it is assumed it is within the state. So CGS, and in the question itself says CGST, and they ask you to charge CGST and SGST. So railway freight, we are making payment. So freight is an expense for the business. Freight is involved, cash is involved. Freight as a expenses, increase in expenses should be debited. Input CGST and input SGST, it is, they are asset for the business, they are increasing in the business, so it should be debited. And the same time cash is decreasing in the business. Cash is an asset and it is decreasing in the business, so it should be credited with the amount of freight plus GST paid, that is 1350 each. So total amount paid is 17,700 being railway freight paid. Now next transaction is February 16. Purchase computer printer for office for 80,000 from Dell Limited on credit. Now we are purchasing computer printer, that is office, it will be recorded in office equipment account, and we are purchasing on credit because we are not making payment, and it is purchased from Dell Limited. Dell Limited is a creditor for us, and it's a liability for the business. And the same time, see, it is also not mentioned where Dell Limited is residing. So it is assumed it is within the states, and they, in the question itself, they explicitly asked you to charge CGST and SGST. So input CGST and input SGST will be involved. So purchase, it's an expense for the it is a office equipment. Purchasing a computer printer, it is an asset, and we will recorded in office equipment account. Office increase in asset account should be debited with 80,000. Input CGST and input output CGST is also an asset, and they are also increasing in the business, so it should be debited with 4,800, that is 9% of the 80,000 and 6% of the 80,000. And to Dell Limited, it's a liability for the business. Dell Limited is a creditor for the business because it is not yet paid. Amount is not yet paid to the Dell Limited. So they are creditor for the business and they are liability for the business. Increase in liability should be credited with the amount of printer's price as well as input GST, 4,800 each, being computer printer purchased on credit. Now next is February 24, sold goods to Gangaram of UP, goods for rupees 4,20,000 against check which is deposited into the bank. So this is a cash transaction, cash sale. We are Deepak of Gujarat is selling goods to Gangaram of UP. So it's an interstate trade and it is a cash transaction. So sales account is involved, bank account is involved, and output IGST is involved. So the journal entry will be bank account debited with selling price, that is 4,20,000, and output IGST 75,600. Total amount received is 4,95,600. Sale of goods outside the state. Now next transaction is February 25, paid for broadband services of rupees 10,000 by check. Now, and CGST and SGST 6% each. So this is expenses, internet expenses, internet charges account debited, increase in expenses should be debited, and input CGST and SGST will be debited as the asset, they are asset and they are increasing in the business, and the bank balance is decreasing, we are making payment. So total amount we will pay through check is 11,200. Now the last is payment made of balance amount of GST. Now here again we will first of all, I have, yes, this is a calculation. I have calculated the full on this question, basis of this question. Total output IGST is 75,600 and input IGST is 36,000. So this is the second case what we have discussed yesterday, when output IGST is more than input IGST. So first of all, input IGST will be our set off against output IGST. So output IGST balance is 75,600. We will deduct the IGST input IGST 36,000 and still balance of 36,200, 600, 39,600 is left as output IGST, and this will be utilized for writing of input CGST and input SGST if required. So first off, for this journal entry will be passed. Journal entry we will have passed for writing of IGST, input IGST against output. Output IGST account debited to input IGST 36,000. Now come to the point of now input CGST we have 29,250 and output CGST is 18,000. So less amount is available to write off. So we will first write off 18,000. So 11,250. Still balance of CGST is left 11,250. The same way as GST. Again in balance of input SGST left with 11,250. So this 22,500, 11,250 of input CGST and 11,250 of input SGST will be write off against the excess amount of output IGST we are having. So output IGST we are having 39,600. We will deduct this input CGST and then input SGST of 11,250 each, and the balance left is output IGST is 17,100. This 17,100 will be paid off finally. So the journal entry has been passed. Journal entry has been passed for first of all output CGST will be debited with 11,250, output SGST 11,250, to input CGST 11,250 and 11,250. Now output IGST 39,600, out of this 11,250 and 11,250 has been paid out to input CGST and input SGST write-off, and the balance of 17,000 paid off through bank, that is to bank account. So this is all about GST accounting treatment, and today I have finished the whole journal chapter. Please revise it, solve those questions I have given for the homework. Today again I have given you two questions, question number 7 and question number 8. Same what we have discussed today on the basis of solution I have shown today. You go through this question practical and solve it in your class notes. Thank you and have a nice day.